In this lesson, let's begin by talking about the part we have in the screen first. This part is nothing more than a simple extrusion with an extruded cut feature near the top of it. Now this part is made up of several arcs, all tangent to one another. What we want to do is pattern this cut extrude feature along this profile all the way around the part. Now if you want to work along with me, you can find this part file in the Working Files folder under the part name Curve Driven Pattern. But before we begin, let's take a look at the Feature Manager tree. In the Feature Manager tree, notice I do have one feature suppressed. I'm going to unsuppress it, and notice the feature is a square feature. Let's go back and suppress it, and we'll return to this later in the lesson. Now we've already covered the linear pattern and circular pattern features. Those two features cannot accomplish what we're trying to do with this part. What we need to do is activate the curve driven pattern feature. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, and the Property Manager opens. Just like the linear and circular pattern feature, the very first thing that you want to specify is the features to pattern. So I'm going to select inside of this window, go out to the screen, and select the feature. And notice that window is populated with Cut Extrude 1. Going back to the top of the Property Manager, I have Pattern Direction. Now this pattern direction can be a curve, edge, sketch entity, or a sketch selected from the Feature Manager tree. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to expand the Feature Manager tree and find the sketch that makes up this profile. That will be found under Boss Extrude 1. So I'll expand it and select Sketch 1. And that window is populated. Now notice my number of instances is set to 2. Let's bump that up to 10. And you'll see the preview update on the screen. And they're all on top of one another. So let's increase our spacing to 100. Now notice I also have a checkbox for equal spacing. I'll put a check mark there. And now they're equally spaced along the profile. But also notice the preview is showing those features outside of the extruded feature. So how do we fix that? Well, we simply need to go back to the Property Manager. Instead of the curve method being set to transform curve, we want to select offset curve, and that corrects the problem. Just like the linear pattern and circular pattern feature commands, we can skip instances by selecting inside of this window, going out to the screen, selecting an instance, and it's removed. I'm going to go ahead and place that back in, and then close out of the Curve Driven Pattern Property Manager. Now, I want to talk about another option in the Curve Driven Property Manager. To do that, I am going to suppress the Curve Driven Pattern that we just created. I'll also suppress the Cut Extrude 1, which is the circular feature, and unsuppress the square feature, which is Cut Extrude 2. Now, before we get into a new Curve Driven Pattern feature, let's view normal to this face. And now we're ready to go back into the Curve Driven Pattern feature. Going back to the Property Manager, notice my window for features to pattern is already selected. However, it's selecting Boss Extrude 1, wrong feature. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go out to my Property Manager and select Cut Extrude 2. Scrolling back to the top of the Property Manager, inside of Direction 1, just like I did the last time, I'll select the Sketch 1 under Boss Extrude 1. Now the reason we're working with a square feature this time is because I want to talk about alignment method. The curve driven pattern defaults to tangent to curve. And notice the square features are tangent to the curve. However, if you want to keep the same alignment as a seed feature, you simply select Align to Seed. Close out of the Curve Driven Pattern Property Manager, and notice all of those features are in the same alignment as the seed feature.